Absolutely. Thank you, Ivan. Hi, good morning. My name's Ivan Tang, and I'm a project manager with the Metro Vancouver company. We're a utility company that manages wastewater treatment and water distribution primarily for the Vancouver area in Canada. So we're a customer with Unit4 for a few years, and we've been a customer for MFL for also a few years. So today I'd like to tell you kind of the real scenarios of what we ran into after we implemented Unit4 in our first several years and how we kind of overcome our challenges with the MFL tool. So I just want to give you a quick rundown of what I'm about to discuss in the next 10 minutes. I just want to give you a little background about our environments, our scenarios, and how we use Unit4, and also give you 3 use cases in terms of how we use MFL4 to address our challenges. So the first one there is a purchase order year-end rollover. Second one is the purchase order monthly auto close. And the last one there is the spending authority flexi table update. And I'll tell you how MFL has been valuable for us in terms of automating our processes and save us time and money. And lastly, to kind of talk and kind of give you share the information with you what we feel about their support level. So full disclosure, obviously we're not paid by Unit4 or MFL. We're just a customer like yourself who find that in some scenarios Unit4 give us challenges in terms of automations and doing certain work, and this is how this tool help us. So we have been a customer since 2016. That's when we acquired the software and started our configuration journey. And we went live in 2018 in January. So that's the first year. That's about 4 years ago. And but since the it started of the implementation, we started finding that Unit4 has some limitations in terms of processes and automation. So we find MFL at a conference at one of the Unit4 yearly conference, and we've been introduced to this product, and we became a customers in 2019 quarter 4. Right now we are running the version 7.7 on premise. So we use both their desktop version as well as their web, but they're both running on our kind of own hardware. And we have about 2,000 users at the Metro Vancouver. So I want to give you a little example of the challenge number 1 that we have is the year-end rollover. So basically, after we went live the first year, we find the need that on a yearly basis, we need to push the commitment data in the new year. And that's because every year there is a new budget that has to be matched against the commitment, and whatever commitment that hasn't been finished paying has to be rolled into next year to deduct from the budget when you do funds check. So what happens is that there are tens of thousands of PO that gets created every year. And if we need to roll these PO over and these commitments related to the PO into the new year, there is just no fun way of doing this easily. I guess what you could do is go on to each of the PO, change the year, and click save. But to do that 1,000 times, 10,000 times is just not feasible. So what we did in our first year of our Unit4 implementation production journey, so we have this need. We didn't have a program to do this. What did we do? So we went and script the PO period to the new year. So everything was 2018 at that time. We basically took a criteria of what POs qualified to go into the next year, and we scripted into 2019. But that doesn't help with addressing the commitment issue, because this just really saving your PO into, or moving your PO into the new year. Your commitments stay behind, and that's wrong. So once again, manually resaving, not feasible. So what we did was we created a .NET program. So we wrote our own program, and we created a SQL view that qualified the tens of thousands of POs that need to be moved into the new year. We created a program and fed those 10,000 PO numbers into Unit4 Web one by one through a .NET macro. So, PO number 1, you put that in, and then it automatically clicks save. And then it moves into the next one, PO number 15, and then we click save. So that program automated that for us. And then we put in a 10 seconds in between of the action. So in between putting in, PO number 10, and, our program says press tab to populate all the fields, and then wait for 10 seconds, and then click save. This took 2 days to finish, and it had errors, and we had to go back and address all the errors. So this was a really tedious process, and it was error prone. Not the best way to really use Unit4 for, but it worked for us in the first year. We're happy that we got some creation like this. And then in the second year, because we know of MFL that can do exactly this function, we created MFL process to do this exact same operations, this automation. So we still had to script the PO period to the new year. That's you would have to have a criteria to identify the POs that needs to be moved. One point of interest is that you could actually use MFL to do that for you. We just decided to do it at the back end so that it's more cleaner for us. We know exactly what we're dealing with. And then we had to do this data cleanup with a script, just because sometimes when you move a PO into a new year, it doesn't save gracefully. If there are, say, for example, outstanding invoices, if you have some of those attributes that were closed down, or you have any kind of attribute issues, mostly, we would address that in a script. And then we created 4 MFL PO files. So as Ian mentioned just now, how you create the Excel files, we did exactly that with Accelerator. So you would take their template, their Excel template, and use that as the basis of your Accelerator files, because you needed all their headings. And then you would populate the data of what you want to roll forward into the new year in the content of the 4 files. So then on the server, we ran 4 separate MFL processes. So that allows us to double up on the resources and to quadruple up on the resources. So we weren't running 10,000 files consecutively one by one. We were running 4 at a time, because each of the files would have a different PO number that you would run for. So we separated those into 4 batches and ran it all together, and it finished in 6 hours. So compared to doing 2-3 days of troubleshooting and then sitting there waiting for the macro to run, 6 hours. We were done with an error log that MFL produces, and then you can go back and check and say, okay, well, what did MFL think the error was? And then you try to address those, and you may want to just manually fix those up. So it was much easier, and it allowed us for full automation. So we just had to sit there and turn it on, and we walk away for several hours. And usually, interestingly, we do that on December 31st, because that is the last day of the year before you have to roll it. So that's New Year's Eve. So we turn it on in the morning. We don't do anything about it for 6 hours. You come back, you're finished, and we were happy. So that was the roll over to the new year, and it worked really nice for us. Okay, challenges number 2 was an initiative we have as a business requirement we have from finance department, that on a monthly basis, POs were to be identified and closed. So before we used MFL, which was it was just a process where we don't do that on a monthly basis. It would be a yearly basis where the financial analyst would identify all the POs that needs to be closed for the year, because, say, for example, somebody opened a PO and it did get sent to the vendor, or the payment was finished, but somehow the system didn't close the PO down. So 9,000 plus 10,000 PO lines would be identified before the year end, and about 6 or 7 financial analysts would take those POs and then go to their department, their clients, and say, hey, we need to close these. Can you confirm we can close this? These confirmations it goes back to the accounting operations department, and a clerk would manually literally look through those 9,000 POs and close them down one by one. So as you can see, that's significant investment of time from finance, and it's also error prone. They might have missed a line to close. It took them, I think, one person a month to do this at the year end in November. So I addressed what we did manually before. So with MFL, it was similar process as to how we did this with the rollover. We created a view to capture what needs to be closed down on a monthly basis. So the data set would be created as a Unit4 accelerator report, and it gets sent to the client for review automatically. So based on an attribute of what those attributes are, in relation to the attributes, we send those automatically to different people in the different departments so they can just go and review them. And what they would do is that if there's some POs that they determine, hey, we can't close this, they would go back to finance and say, okay, we need to exclude it from your load. And that's it. And then what happens is that on a monthly basis, we wouldn't have the 9,000 lines to close. We may only have 1,000, or less. So we use again Unit4 Accelerator to create a file that captures those 1,000 POs. And then on a monthly basis, we created an Intel agent to monitor a folder where Unit4 Accelerator file is generated. And when that Intel agent sees a new folder, a new file in that folder, it automatically starts a command line process and start going through those POs that we said that we would close, and it closes them down. So that this way, at the year end, there's no more 9,000 lines of verification. Everything is closed on a monthly basis, and it's a very clean process that saves finance a lot of time to deal with at the year end. Once again, it helps us tremendously. So as you can kind of see how we're using this, very different from how MFL originally. I believe they started with mostly master data and transactional data to begin with, to help with these type of things. We took it to a level where we're automating our business. It's an extension of our business process. So this is the Intel agent that we created. Just wanted to show you what that looks like. So on the left here is an Intel agent that monitors a folder to say, well, do you have a new file? And if you do, then kick off this Unit4 server process and run a query to do certain type of processing. On the right hand side, you can see that it's it sends automatically an email as a confirmation to parties involved to say this process is kicked off. And then at the bottom there, you can see that that's the command line prompt that runs the file that we saw, and then just generated it started the process. Okay, so last use case that we had was the spending authority update. So spending authority is a concept of which fund checks were to be performed, and for different users of the company to approve requisitions based on their positions. So this spending authority is stored in a flexi table. It's based on the cost center / position kind of combination to see what a cost center you have to approve for. But the challenge is that when employees they change position, as people move in and out of the company, you would need to update the flexi table all the time. So here's a use case. Imagine you have 5 positions that needs to be changed that month, and each position have about they manage 50 different cost centers. So 5 times 50, you have 250 lines that you have to update in Unit4. So that's tedious because you would go into Flexi, you find these 5 positions, you find 50 cost center you need to update. You may have to delete them, you may have to change them. It's just a lot of different work, right? So this is a screenshot of what we have to do. We have to go into the maintenance Flexi field and load this Flexi field and then go and change those for 250 times. So with MFL, we enter the changes on the MFL file. So we have a template of which we give to the financial analyst. They enter the change on the MFL template file. And what they would do is they would save the file and put it on a shared folder on our network. Once again, Intel agent to the rescue monitors this folder and process all the changes automatically at night. So all they have to do is fill out the Excel, dump it on a folder, and it's automated. Off we go, and it's finished. So again, it's an extension of our existing process, saves us time. So what it meant for Metro Vancouver, especially value proposition, was that it automated our business process and saved resources, and it's just ensure accuracies. So the MFL actually is a wrapper, if you can call it a wrapper, to most of the Unit4 web services. Meaning Unit4 may have 100 different web services for you to modify, requisition, insert requisition, delete, do all different things, right? But you would need a .NET program. You would need an actual external program to help you to do automation if you don't have anything to manage these web services. So MFL allows you to extend these web services by calling them on your behalf by providing that template. So you really don't need to, crack open and create any .NET programs, and you're able to use all the web services. Like, I don't know of any other way you would be able to use the web service without creating a program unless you use MFL. So, and most of the web services are available via MFL. So that means most of Unit 4 integration and web services is at just your disposal with the Excel templates with MFL. So what that does is it connects clients, it connects operations, and connects IT. Because now you're allowed, your clients and finance and IT can really just be talking about a template that somebody needs to go and process and modify it or whatever, and then give to IT. IT will help you modify and will help you automate it and process it. So you connect all these people without having to have a kind of a intense coding sessions. Last slide here. I know I'm running a little late here. There's a lot to talk about. Last slide here is our support experience with MFL has been pretty good. They are quick to turn around. So when we open a ticket with them, usually it takes about 6 hours to 12 hours for them to get back to us. And all of their suggestions have been really good. And every time that we have something that they can't do with the existing product, we give suggestions, and a lot of time our suggestion have been accepted, and they make that into the next release. And also their staff are very knowledgeable in terms of what they can and cannot do, and give very, very good advices. So that's our experience with Metro Vancouver and MFL.